and welcome to the 4 Radical Transformations. Today is going to be so rich, so deep. I promise you I'm going to give it my all. And I'll tell you why, because it's so friggin' important and it has radically shifted and transformed my life. Every level. Your inner authority said yes, and you don't even know why. You're like, I have to know this. I don't know why, So don't worry if you don't know any of them. There's something in here for you. And hopefully my intention today is that I touch on that thing for you, what you need today. That's my intention, because I'm telling you this information is so radical. It completely metamorphosized my life. Now, this information is not for everyone. I know there are a lot of human design teachers that do not believe or think this is work that's necessary, and that is to be 100% honored. The one thing we learn in human design is that everybody needs to honor what is truth for them, right? What is their inner authority? Everybody needs to honor that place within them. And so as I go through these radical transformations, I want to also share with you my own personal journey, because I've never believed human design. I've never believed any of this material, because Ra said very clearly, do not believe what I say. Experiment with the intel, and if it changes your life, it's correct for you. If it changes your life, it is correct for you. So the 4 radical transformations changed my life radically on a deep and profound level. Now, the group that I originally took through this program, all the way through, every single one of them had life-changing depth, metamorphosis around food, around how they digest their life, around where they're living, around how they see things, and dramatically around the motivation. The motivation is the queen of the 4 radical transformations, but you don't get there right away. You have to experience, you have to experiment, you have to go deep and unravel and explore and say yes to the transformation. And who is this transformation for? Well, I cannot tell you. You have to be far enough in your experiment that you are 100% sure that you understand your inner authority. You know deeply when you get a yes, and you know when you get a no. So if somebody says to you, oh, Ra made this shit up, but your whole life radically transforms, then it doesn't matter what anyone says about the material. It matters the depth of your own personal transformation. Because I have plenty of people that are like, I'm not into human design. I love you, Raquel, but I'll buy your book because I love you, but I'm not into human design. These are some of my best friends, right? They're like, I don't want to know my chart. I don't want to know my design. I'll buy your book because I love you. I'm like, no, please don't. I really don't want you to, because my work is really honestly only for you who are like, I need this to survive. Like, if I don't understand about being a projector, I'm freaking bitter as all F. Okay? It's for you. It's for those of you that know when you found out you were a projector, that you were burned out, you were frazzled, you were on your very last leg of trying every single self-help book, motivation, inspiration, meditation, you're psychic, you've had visions, you have downloads, and yet something wasn't working in your life. You weren't responding, or you weren't initiating for my manifestors or my beautiful projectors. There was something. that was burning you out. This is who this material is for. Okay. You know you're getting a yes deep down in your core. Okay. It's for you. Now, I do want you guys to know that I love you beyond my wildest dreams, because when I share this stuff, okay, when I share this stuff, it changes me. When people have ahas, it changes me. One of my clients, who I was just talking about this on my personal Facebook page, and she wrote, I haven't talked to her in a little bit because she had a baby. She's a brand new mom. And she's like commenting on my post, this completely transformed my life, the 4 radical transformations. And now I'm using it for my baby and how I feed him and how I'm, nourishing him. And it's like, oh my God, this stuff rings true for people over the years. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to take you through each one of the transformations. I'm going to take you through my own personal journey, because that is what's important for me. And I'm going to tell you why it is different than what everyone told me about human design. And I'm going to share it with you in such a rich and dynamic way that I want you guys to get everything you can from today. I want you to have the transformations. I want you to have the ahas, and I want you to have everything that you can today. And for those of you who are like, I need to go deeper, I need to go on this journey with you, and I need to really explore this on a deep and profound level, where I take you so deep into each one and we experiment together. We go through your superpower. We go through the digestion on such a deep level with my special sauce, which I'm going to tell you what that is today. I'm going to show you how that we start all of my classes and my live streams with a deep and rich process to bring you into a gamma wave state. Now, this centering process is non-denominational. Every single belief system is welcome here. Every single energy field is going to be transformed into the highest divine light. And we are going to be taking you guys up to frequencies of the gamma so you can receive this information without the mind blocking you, so you can really absorb what I'm going to be sharing today. The way we start our centering is that everybody shuts down their screens, their phones. If you're listening to the recording, now is the time to tell your family, hey, this is me time. And then go ahead and take a breath in with me. And now is the time to begin settling into this moment. Close your eyes with me and take another breath in. And now I want you to feel that we are co-creating this energy field through time, through space. Everybody who is listening and everybody who is here live, we are coming into this sacred energy field of the now. We are expanding, we are rising, we are lifting, we are setting the intention to receive the golden nuggets, the inspiration for each and every one of you that you need for today. So you can sit back and let go of the mind that likes to control, the mind that likes to tell you what you need to do, the mind that likes to get involved, when really the inner authority, the depth of the vehicle intelligence is here to rule the life. This is the evolutionary stage we are in. We are transcending the mind, and we are awakening to a consciousness that is far beyond the intellect. And when you eat and you digest the world correctly, you live correctly, you view the world correctly, you are motivated by the correct motivation, your superpower, meaning your clairvoyance, your clair gifts, the ones that you can rely on begin to turn on even more powerfully. I know many of you are psychic and aware and intuitive and empathic, and there's so many spiritual beings here. And now we're going to turn it on to a higher level. where your guides can reach you, where encounters can happen, where money is your natural state because it is a flow. As you breathe in, you awaken to the infinite flow. There is no shortage of breath. There is no shortage of energy. There is no shortage of money here. There is no shortage. As we live correctly, we align to health. We align to the wealth. I want you all to feel that now. Allow it to move through every cell of the body. Allow it to move through every bone, to pump through your blood. And when you are ready, come back here into this room. Come back here into this space. Come back here into the Zoom room. We're going to dive into the intel for today. While I am pulling up our slides, please go ahead and type in one word that is coming through from that experience. The 4 radical transformations. This is a process. This is a journey. This is a journey. This is a journey of eating correctly, which also means digesting life and digesting intel. It's how you digest everything. And then it's living in the right environment for your type. So one of the things I find really interesting is how deeply conditioned we are around this area. And then it's viewing the world in the way you were designed to and being motivated by truth, not transference. And then a brand new superpower emerges within you. It's all the seeds becoming planted, and then the seeds begin to sprout, and the flowering and the acorn and the trees begin to grow through this process. So the question is, are you ready to go through this journey? And that's a question that is deep and profound within you. Like I said, for those of you who are just jumping on, just listening, are you getting a yes to the experiment? Because it took me years before I got a yes. I got to be honest with you. It took me years. So above the surface is the strategy and the inner authority. And then beneath the surface are the 4 radical transformations. So you might hear this as the PHS, your primary health system, the diet determination. These are all the words that are used, and there are distinctions. The primary health system incorporates your entire chart, so generators digest food very different than projectors. The splenic inner authority is going to digest and work with the diet very differently than the emotional being. And then the environment is first, we're talking first the physical vehicle, we're talking first digesting on the inner, and then we're talking about the outer, right? What's surrounding you and how these things work with each other. And this is what we call the design side in human design. The design side is the vehicle, which means your body, okay? The physical body. It's very, very different on the red side. It's like your subconscious and your conscious, right? Your vehicle, your personality, your soul, your body, right? Now, once these things, we've got them operating correctly, you're digesting life correctly, you're living in the right environment, then we work on your psychology. So if you've heard of rave psychology, then you know that it's how the view is how you think. This one is so interesting to me because we're all told, think like this. This is what you should think. This is how you should think about things. But we're all designed to see the world differently. We're all designed to think about things differently. And I want you guys to just think about that for a minute. Imagine if the world was encouraged to think differently. Wait a minute, there was a commercial, Think Different. So in some ways, We know that the brilliance, we know that the genius, we know that that comes from when someone thinks differently. And yet at the schools, in the homes, at your corporate jobs, at your wherever on TV, they're encouraging you to think alike. Okay. But I know most of you here probably are feeling that call. There's something here that, I'm different and I do things differently. And so when we crack this open, it changes everybody and everything around you, and it gives everyone freedom to be themselves. It's so powerful. And then motivation, Ross said, is the second most important thing for a projector, okay? Because I'll tell you why. It's like the motivation shows you who's correct for you. And projectors, sometimes they have like 3 or 4 people who are the inspirations for recognition that open millions of doors. Okay. And then they need to know the random people that are around them, who's correct for them and who's not. And you see this in motivation. The digestion, the primary health system. Thank you, Tracy. Yes. It's taking the eating experience out of the mind and into the body. Okay, so I'm going to start with diet. This is where we start all of the 4 radical transformation. Out of the mind. Think about this for a minute. Okay, the mind is the one that says you need to lose weight. You need to get healthy. So you know what we're going to do? I just read this thing in the magazine and it said you need to cut out the carbs, you need to cut out the things, you need to do A, B, and C, right? The mind has such a grip on what we eat, we don't even realize the depth of how the mind is controlling our diet. Do you guys understand that? The mind is telling you, eat breakfast first and then the lunch. It's 3 meals a day. This is such a deep and powerful conditioning. It's so ingrained in our friggin' world that we don't even see it. The pyramid. I mean, a lot of people have transcended the pyramid, but you guys know what I mean. We are told how to eat. Are you getting a wow, Lauren? Right? It's so big. I told you I was going to give you guys a little bit of story as we go. So when I first came to human design, I found out as a projector. Most of you know that I'm a splenic projector. Now, one of the very most important things that they tell you when you're a projector is go to bed early. Go to bed before you're tired, because projectors do not have a lot of energy and you want to slough off the generator fuel. And so you go to bed and you let the generator fuel kind of move off of the body. You should sleep alone, right? So I would go to bed early and I'd be like, eyes awake, can't sleep, totally uncomfortable. Then, of course, I'm trying to, be an entrepreneur. And so I'm, who knows, taking some entrepreneurial class where the leader is saying, millionaires wake up at 6 a.m. They wake up early and they do their journaling. They have their morning routines. They meditate and they do all the things. So I'm thinking, okay, I got to get up early, 6 a.m. And then my whole day, I have this like dry discomfort all over my body, like a weight and like a tingling of tiredness. And I remember way back, one of my very first jobs that I got when I was right out of college was substitute teaching. And you had to get up at like 4 a.m., something crazy. And it was the worst job I ever had in my friggin' life. I was so friggin' tired. It was like I had to put toothpicks on my eyelids. And it was like, those cartoons where you're like, that is me anytime I have to wake up early. But this went on for years in my experiment. Okay. Now, I knew the people had told me, oh, you're supposed to eat in the dark because you're indirect, right? You're supposed to eat in the dark. So I was like, eat in the dark. Okay, that's a little weird. I'm not, eat in the dark. It took years in my experiment as I was unraveling this stuff and unraveling this and going deeper and deeper and deeper, when I heard Ra say, indirect light people, also called nocturnals, which is me, you should change your whole world. Change your whole world so that you are working in the middle of the night. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. You know, also, I remember at the time I had also been doing the intermittent fasting where they say, you know, your whole life will change if you don't eat before 6 o'clock or after 6 o'clock or whatever, right? So I was doing that too. And I was like, oh my God. You mean I can stay up late? By the way, in my 20s, that was my natural state. I stayed up late. My job and my life, because I was, you know, a performer in my 20s. I was an artist, and it was actually the right environment and the right diet for me in my 20s because it was natural, and I just let myself do it. I stayed up all night. I slept all day. I worked at night. But when I got into the corporate environment, that was friggin' completely different. Yes, all of my clients know that if you text me around midnight, 10 p.m., you'll get me. Vicky. Vicky's like, I gotta go to bed now. I'm like, what? So when you guys start working with me, just turn off your phones if you do not want midnight texts. So basically, the way I've kind of organized my life now is I stay up as late as I want and I sleep in as long as I want. Yes, I do my classes in this midday time, and I usually take a nap afterwards because that's how the flow has been for me. And then I wrote my whole book from midnight until, you know, whatever, go to bed around 4 a.m. And all of a sudden, I have more energy than I've ever had. I'm so much more alive. My body is changing. Now, I'm also going to be completely authentic here. I do have Innocence, right? I'm going to be completely authentic here. Raw does say that if you eat based on your diet, then you can eat whatever you want. So he says that if I eat at night, I can eat anything I want. Now, this is not true for me. Now, this is an experiment. So there are many, many, many amazing things that have happened to me and my body and my digestion and how my food is digested. But if I were to eat a gallon of ice cream and all kinds of other sugar and junk, my body does still have a negative reaction. I do have food sensitivities. I am not in my 20s anymore. So, but for some people, this is true. So for some people, so that's why it's an experiment, and I'm being completely authentic and honest with you guys, all the things that radically transformed for me and some of the things that didn't. You know, I still trust my spleen. So there's the next level, like I said, of being a splenic projector and trusting your inner authority around the food as well. So that's part of the primary health system that I'm going to take you through if you guys decide to do this journey with me. I'm going to take you through each layer. There's all kinds of other things around the fats, the sugars, how we digest as an emotional being. So it's very personal, right? It's really, really personal. So not everybody is going to have that immediate thing, but some people will. Sometimes the color one, they have it the hardest. And when they switch the way they eat, it's sometimes every single problem I've witnessed, every single problem in their body, any type of autoimmune disease, any type of problems that not a single doctor could figure out, all begin to shift in the way they're eating. So I've seen that happen as well. I've seen both things happen. So I just want you to know everybody's different, and how it's going to work for you is also really different. Okay. Now, this is now after you digest, then it's about the outside world. Okay. So this is the information in the chart concerning where you actually live. It establishes each person in an environment that's supportive to their unique life, right? So first you have to eat and nourish the physical vehicle correctly, but then you have to look outside and see how you are operating outside, right? And so how we nourish ourselves in the outside world is also really interesting. Think about how deeply we're conditioned to believe that we need to live in, you know, suburban neighborhoods, or you need to have the white picket fence, or, you know, certain people need to live certain ways. So for example, if you're an artist, you need to be in the city. You know, this was a big thing in my 20s, like it was LA, New York, San Francisco, and like if you live in the suburbs, you're, you know, you're not cool or whatever it was. Or some people, you know, feel like they have to be they have a, a draw to be in the country, when really they're designed to be in the city. Some people are designed to be around a lot of auras, and some people are not, but their family grew up in the country and they believe that city people are, there's something wrong with city people. Okay, so the idea is that we are conditioned oftentimes by our families, we're conditioned by what we see on TV in order to live in the environment. Okay, so in the end, it's related to the longevity of the physical vehicle, how this physical vehicle is designed to live, because it said that the place, it's where your physical vehicle meets the least resistance on the body. So it's like literally the least amount of pain, the least amount of illness, the least amount of anxiety, the least amount of aches, the least amount of pain. So sometimes we naturally live how children will naturally live if they're not conditioned. You can see it. It's so crazy with my nephew. You know, he stays up all night long. He's a computer. He's brilliant. He's already an entrepreneur. He's only 21. His company's already, anyways, he's brilliant. He stays up all night, and his mom and his dad are super worried. Oh, he stays up all night. This can't be good. This is a sign, a bad sign. I'm like, let me check his PHS. Sure enough, he's nocturnal. He is designed to live that way. And, you know, my family doesn't believe in human design. You guys, if you know me, you know that's my plight. So they don't listen to me, but I'm laughing. I'm over here laughing. All right, so let me take it into the chart for a minute before we switch into the mind. I want to take you guys into where you are finding this and where we are looking in the chart. Okay. I understand the family, right? Not listening to the wisdom, right? And yeah, exactly. My family won't listen to me either, Lucy. All right. It's like, whatever. I love you guys. God bless. All right. So where we're looking in the chart, and not everybody has this level of chart, and that's because not all of the softwares have this. So we actually have two different softwares that we use for the free information, where you will find determination there as well. You will find the environment there. For our paid courses, we do this deeper dive just because it's a system, it's a software, it's harder for you to do on your own, right? So the digestion, you'll see here at this first level of design in the red, you'll see that this little arrow here, we call this variable. And the variable is part of how you read your PHS. Okay, then we also are looking at this little stop sign here where it says 6, that is color. Okay, this little stop sign is the 6, and then this little triangle here where it says 5, that is the tone. Okay, that is the tone. And so what they say in human design, so there's so many depths and nooks and crannies around the primary health system. So like I said, it goes through so many things, your format channels, some of your channels, your gates. So the primary health system is beyond determination. Determination is the one that says, oh, I'm indirect, I'm cold, I'm hot, that. The primary health system goes through your entire chart. Okay. So when you go through your entire chart, everything begins to change. And then what they say is, as you're digesting, your tone turns on. So let me explain this to you guys just a little bit. I have always had psychic downloads. I have very strong connection to my guides. I've been on a spiritual path since I was 20 years old. I was trained by world famous shamans and enlightened teachers because I was a seeker, and I gave up college and my master's degree. I circled back around to get my master's, but right out of college, I chose to follow shamans all over the world, to Egypt, Peru, Machu Picchu, all over Europe for months and months, traveling with shamans to learn and awaken my spiritual awakening. Now, I could not ground any of this stuff because I'd have visions and then I'd go manifest them, because that's what people knew at the time. I didn't know I was a projector. So I was not able to really utilize my gifts until I discovered that I was a projector. And so when I talk about my tone turning on, it wasn't that I didn't have spiritual gifts. It wasn't that I didn't have spiritual awakenings. It wasn't even that, I had moments of like enlightenment. I've had moments of, making a lot of money and money flowing and all kinds of good things. But I was always burned out. I was always in pain around the physical vehicle because I didn't understand being a projector. Now, my tone is called feeling, but it's about clairsentience. So what that means is that although I have downloads and although I have a full connection to my guides coming in, the only thing I can rely on 100% is the feeling sensation of energy in my physical vehicle without my mind. So even though I get thoughts and I get downloads and all of that, they're inconsistent. Some of them are not mine. And so I have to be I am doing a lot of channeling. And those of you, by the way, who got the book bundle and who have been listening to the channeling, it's really important that that's coming through right now. And I hope that it's serving you guys. And this reminds me, what my guides want to bring forward in this information with the 4 radical transformations is also the digestion and the transformation around the wealth, because the reason is because I want all of my clients to be living at a higher wealth. We all want that. But the thing is that we have to do it from this place of living correctly and knowing that the wealth and the health are related. So the way I now think of it is the breath is the wealth. So the breath, so the health is the body, but the breath is the flow. It's always in. You don't have to hold it, your breath. You don't have to hold on. You can just release it because you know that there's enough all the time. It's the abundance is our natural state. I had to see it and transform it into a spiritual place because I am a spiritual being. I don't really need it to be a superficial thing. I don't want it to be the earn the 7 figures type of energy, because that doesn't work with my innocence. But the flow, okay, so that we can invest. I had one of the human design people was like coming out saying he's now finally charging for his work, and he got just a backlash. And I'm like, my God, these people should be having businesses. You should be getting charged. You should pay for things, because that is the flow. And the reason we have money still in this system and that we need to pay our bills is because we need to free ourselves from lack. And so when you pay and when you receive, you free yourself from the lack mentality of I don't have enough. So anyways, we're going to be integrating this into the 4 radical transformations. This is inspired by my clients. This is inspired by what's going on for my life and how I want to bring forward this information. So I just want to give you guys the little heads up on this, okay? So the feeling tone turned on in me as something that is 100% reliable, what I can rely upon, as opposed to all of my psychic, my intuition even. So intuition also had to be broken down differently for me with the spleen, because the spleen is the intuition, but it's not in the way that I was trained intuition to be, okay? And so I had to understand that the spleen is the lymphatic system. It's little tongues and ears, and it senses all over the body. So it really, really moves into my feeling tone, but that turned on as I was eating correctly and living correctly. So here's the crazy thing, okay? The correct diet and the correct environment provides us with the foundation to develop the correct perception. The perception. So a lot of people talk about the transference in the diet and the environment, but it does not transfer in the same way, okay? Because the body and the vehicle is not a transferable type element as the mind. The mind is a this or a that. The mind is black or white. The mind is I'm right, you're wrong. The mind is this is my view, not your view is wrong, my view is right. The mind is the element that is clamped down in misperception. Now, the mind has to go through a complete metamorphosis to see the world correctly. I know everybody thinks they see the world correctly, but I am telling you, when you go through the mind and the way in which it flips back and forth, you begin to realize that you're seeing things all wrong. You're seeing things all wrong. Now, the only thing that can interfere with the life, now when I say the life, I mean the wealth and the health. The wealth and the health. So the wealth, the only thing that interferes with the wealth is the lack, which comes from the mind. The only thing that interferes with the health is the disease thinking of the mind. Now, obviously, I know there's a lot of complications around health, and I'm not going to get into the full conversation around that right now, but I do believe that health is our natural state. Of course, there are things that come through for learning, for karma, from all kinds of different elements, but I do believe that we do vibrate at a frequency of health when we are aligned out of the mind, okay? So when you allow your vehicle to make the right decisions with the strategy and the inner authority, meaning, yes, I want to take on the experiment of the diet, right? You get the life of the self. So different. So different. Your mind is a pattern, okay? So the mind is a very complicated grid, and we love it. It does a lot of great thinking. It does a lot of great thought processes. So when we unravel the transference of the mind, when we unravel it, what they say in human design is you lock your proper perception, and then what happens is you ignite your proper guides. So for those of you who want your guides and you're calling them in, but there's something you're misperceiving, it's usually because the mind is in transference. So it's the way in which we are seeing. So yeah, so a lot of the energy around the demon is the way in which the mind is perceiving it. This is a whole other conversation. So the transference of the mind, you guys, I'm sorry, but I witness it every day in people. It's the most powerful thing I've ever seen, actually, is the transference of the motivation. Now, before I get to motivation, I want to talk about view for 1 minute. So, and I told you I was going to add my little spice to this experience, okay? So, view. Now, one of the things they also tell you in human design is that projectors have a hard time understanding their own charts. Projectors are a little less self-aware than the other type. And the reason why is because they're so laser focused on awareness of the other. They see such insight on other people that sometimes they don't see the inside on themselves. I have a projector, someone who's like, it's so funny. She's trying to tell me about her being a projector, and she's like, you have to interview me. I know everything about this, and I need to tell this to you. And I'm like, except for the fact that I didn't invite it. So you forgot that one piece. Anyways, it's just so funny. Projectors are so funny. We are clueless. I sometimes need another projector to sort it out for me. And that's why we have each other, right? So we can see other people. We see everything in the other. We see everything, right? Now, there's a caveat. They also say that, they tell you as a projector, don't study yourself. Just study other people. Put your chart away. Just learn about other people's chart. You need to learn everyone else's chart. Don't learn your chart. And I kept thinking, that does not ring true for me. That is not me. And there is one thing that I do know. If something doesn't ring true for me, it's a no. Like that is just how it's always been. That just did not ring true for me. Okay. So you don't study yourself. That's one of the things they say about projectors is you study the other first. But yes, you have to study yourself too, but that you don't quite see yourself in the same way. But there's a caveat, and that's what I'm about to get to right now is the caveat to that, okay? Which is that my view is personal. I am a personal view. And what does that mean? It means that all of my knowing, all of my information comes through my experience. So in other words, I did not believe about human design diet. It wasn't that. It was my own personal experiment with this stuff when I began to say, no, I'm not going to follow what you guys think. I should live my life. I'm going to sleep in. And I got to tell you, I have so much conditioning around sleeping in because my dad was depressed. He slept in, his business failed. I have literally my entire life is conditioned to make me feel like a loser, a complete failure if I sleep in. Okay, so the conditioning is no joke. It's no effing joke. And I still have to transcend that every single day. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is because I had a life-changing, altering, transformational to the core experience when I shifted that conditioning and let myself sleep in, go to bed at 4 in the morning, my whole world changed. I wrote my book because at 3 in the morning, the book just fell out of my mouth. Okay, it just was like here. Because I let myself live this way. And the reason it hits me personally is because I have a personal view. So this caveat of learn about the other person was not true for me either. What I'm saying is that there are caveats in human design, okay, that are not true for everybody, which is why I always, whenever I teach anything, I'm always saying that, there is no absolutes. So I never tell projectors, oh, don't study yourself, study other people. I was just using that as an example of another place in human design that's not 100% accurate when you're in the traditional human design study. But it is true for a lot of projectors. Okay, it is true for a lot of projectors, but not for me. So this is the depth that when you go beneath the surface, this is the depth you get when you begin the 4 radical transformation. Okay. It's strong. Yeah, it is strong conditioning. Yeah, it's so strong. And the thing is I am at a place now where I don't care either, but I go to an event, and even my friends that know human design, it's hard for them to understand, like, oh, Raquel needs to sleep in, or oh, Raquel's a projector, she can't keep up. Bah, 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 bah. Like it still is once you get into the group think, So this is what I'm talking about, you guys. This is how deep this goes. Okay. So now I want to talk a little bit about the transference in the motivation. Okay, the transference in the motivation. Now, again, I'm going to use a little personal story here. So the transference in the motivation, one of the things that I love to do is I do work with, different coaches and different high-end coaches, and I invest in myself and I continue to grow. But because I know my human design now, I had to stop doing that for a while because I was investing in these high-end coaches and it was just spinning me out because it's manifesting generators. Almost every coach that you look at that's like the 7-figure coach, go look at them. I can think of like 10 right out the gate are all manifesting generators, and they think they can help projectors. And some of them who do human design, they sort of do. But it's just, there's no way that they can have the level of understanding of what it means to be a projector. I'm sorry. I love manifesting generators. I love you guys. You know I do. I love you so much. I live with the generator, right? Emotional generator. And, I know now though, how to unravel. Okay. I know how to unravel the generator fuel. One of the things that I do love very much when I first was starting my business was, Abraham Hicks. Okay. And now, by the way, Abraham Hicks is a mental projector. Now, if you go to an Abraham Hicks event, live event, which I've been to, and I still love her. Okay. So she's a mental projector. Mental projectors can download their channeling really clear because they don't have the distraction of an open head. And she's just such a clear channel. But you get to her live event and like by 1 o'clock, she's like, okay, bye everybody. And she's done. And I'm like, oh my God, she knows, like, it's a 4-hour slot. She's done. Okay. But here's the one thing we do not know. Okay. Is that her motivation, and I want to give a shout out to Pam December on this one because I discovered this through her. She was one of my clients who we did this together. We went through the 4 radical transformations. She's amazing, by the way. And she's like, did you see Abraham Hicks's motivation is desire? And I'm like, oh my God, OMFG. Okay. All of our law of attraction, manifestation, calling in, all of that stuff is based around desire. Okay. Now, desire, even one of the books that I tell people to read is Rich AF, the Amanda Francis. I've dreamt with her and she's amazing and I really love her. But, even her, she says, desire is a positive thing. Desire moves you. If you're desired to be a coach, if you're desired to make $1 million, if you're desired, that desire is healthy, it's safe, you can listen to it. Okay. Caveat here is that desire is actually my transference. Okay. So what that means is it pushes me upside down. It pushes me in an inside out state where I'm not in my truth. Because my motivation is innocence. Now, what human design is saying is that there is a desire motivation. It's not what you think. Okay. It's not the frequency of desire in that way. What it means is that there are some people that live in the transference of innocence. Now, these are people, oftentimes when I bring this up and we work on this with some of my one-on-one clients, like, what we notice is that their whole life, their inspiration was studying Buddhism, where it's like, have no desire. So that no desire state for them was actually their transference. It was actually unhealthy for them to be without a agenda. Now, these words are very different. When I'm telling you human design motivation, it's very different than the law of attraction. Okay, it's a completely different energy. It's a completely different frequency. And so what it's showing you is where you personally are pulled into a negative force where you personally are distracted. Now, I watched this with really well-known, really powerful human design people that don't know their transference. Okay, when they talk a little bit about their life, you can see the transference. Even if they've deconditioned, even if they are spiritual, even if they've awakened, even if they know everything about human design, if they don't know motivation, you will see their transference. It is something you can't unsee. It is so deeply integrated into people's upside down. So one of the things I notice a lot is people say, you know, I've been working on myself. I've done a lot of work. I'm a spiritual practitioner and all of this. I do yoga. I do this. I do that. And so I've already done my deconditioning. And for a lot of people, actually, you know, if you guys have been watching my Are You a Mutant event, you'll see a lot of the people I interview, they're not necessarily human design people, but they're naturally living their design, a lot of them. And so it does happen. But the place, yes, the place that I see everyone get tripped up on is the transference and motivation. It trips us up. It's so subtle. It's such a subtle pull. It's a hypnosis. And it keeps most people stuck underwater without even knowing it. So I was watching, you know, when I first went through this with my first group of clients, I had a woman who was in a very, very unhealthy relationship. So that's it, Sani. How you get unstuck is by going through the 4 radical transformations. You have to go through each one step by step. You have to give it time. You have to give it space. You have to experiment with it. And then you begin to fix your motivation. And that's when the encounters happen. The encounter is how Ra brought through the voice. It's called the encounter. And he takes you through it. And this is the way. This is why, you know, so the reason why I'm doing this today is because everyone kept inviting me to share about this information, the 4 radical transformations. This is what everybody wanted. And I follow my inner authority, even though, you know, it's like, you know, there's a million other things. I'm really interested in doing A, B, and C, you know, the 2027s and all that, the 2027 stuff, but everybody wanted this. So I follow the invitations. Okay, that's how I run my business, right? And so this is what everybody is wanting to transform. So one of my clients, I was saying that I went through this journey with, and she was in a very unhealthy relationship with her husband. Okay, her motivation is guilt and her transference is hope. Okay, I watched this. I can't even tell you how many times I watched this. So when you're in your transference of hope and you're in an unhealthy relationship, it's usually like, I hope they change. Oh, he got better last week. I know he's an alcoholic. I know he doesn't recognize me. I know he's A, B, and C, but he's going to change. And their whole world is overcome with the transference of hope. Okay. Now, this is so deep. She could not even listen to the diet information. Okay. She could not even listen to it because she's like, I don't believe this. I don't believe in this. And I'm like, okay, you know, it's not for everybody. It's not for everybody. 2 years went by. Okay. 2 years went by and the relationships that got so bad, she finally had to leave. And leaving, she had to like literally pack up in the middle of the night. It was an abusive thing. And the minute she popped out, she was like, oh my God, that was my hope transference. I mean, it was literally like she couldn't see it. And I'm telling you guys, when you see motivation, you cannot unsee it. It's profound. So this is my invitation to you guys. Okay, this is my invitation. I am, as you guys probably know, taking a group through the 4 radical transformations. I am going to be going through all of the diet, all of the tone, the environment, the view, and the motivation. Deep, 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 deep experiment. I am always going deeper in my experiment. So in other words, I would like to be able to completely stay up all night and sleep all day and teach all of you guys at 3 in the morning. But what I do is I get closer to that every day. I get closer to it. And so it's a deep and rich and profound journey. You have to be getting the inner authority, yes, that you want to go through the journey. And I go through each person's chart. You will be getting the printout. You will know obviously everything about your chart, but you will also be knowing everything about all of the people in your inner circles chart. And you will be able to see through people's transference. And we are going to bring in the special sauce of this new arena of wealth that I've never done before. But because I'm feeling the calling on that, I'm going to integrate it into this group, into this experience. It's going to be a fully transformational event. I do want to tell you guys a little bit about how you can join me in this journey if you're getting an inner authority yes, and you're like, I have to do this with you and go through this whole thing. If you want to join in, what I'm going to suggest that you do is if you're like, yes, I want to do this. So for those of you who have already bought the book bundle, you know that the book bundle goes towards this, anything you want. You get a $222 credit to go through. You're in, Lorraine? That was like, I have to do it because I'm going to get her name right by the time the 4 radical transformations are over. She has to do it. So here's what I'm going to suggest. So if you're getting an inner authority, yes, the book bundle, okay, is I'm going to ask you to invest in the book bundle to go towards your first month. So, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I do think the meditations are going to help as we go through. And because it's like a free gift. Okay, so the book bundle is a free gift. So if you've already paid for the book bundle, all you need to do is tell me you want to apply the book bundle to your first month, and we're going to apply it. But if you haven't bought the book bundle yet, then I'm going to give you the link for the book bundle, and you only have to pay the difference. So the one thing about my classes is that everyone in the class gets to know each other. And you guys, I mean, the depth of the relationships that happen here are out of this world. I mean, already we have Vicky and Lauren that are here are doing a podcast together. Like that, their relationship developed on such a level that they're going to be launching their next, creative project together. Like, and I know I'm so proud and excited for you guys. And I don't want that to go away in my classes. I want to make sure that there's time and space for everybody to really, really share. and to go super, super deep. The wealth portion. This is a really, really interesting thing that is getting called out of me. So, and this is what I believe, okay? As we digest life and as we digest food, okay, there's a huge element around the finances and the way in which we feel lack in our body. So, for example, like, what level do you order on the menu? Will you order the most expensive thing on the menu? So if your inner authority is giving you a yes for the most expensive thing on the menu, but your mind's like, no, you can't afford it. Like, they're intrinsically linked. So for example, if you go to a buffet and all of your meals are paid for, are you able to be like, oh, I don't want to eat that, right? And so and I believe that the wealth portion is integrated into each one of these. So for example, in the environment, okay, there is an element of how the wealth is integrated into where you are living, right? And so with each radical transformation, I'm bringing in this idea of the flow in a spiritual realm, how money is operating. And the reason why I'm doing it is because I am obsessed with it right now, because I've been having spiritual awakenings around the financial flow, and it has to be a spiritual awakening for me. Can you see that environment? Yeah. And it goes with the view also and the motivation. So in how we view things and how we think about things, and the way I'm going to integrate it is a lot through the way in which the mind is creating the blocks around the flow in each area. And so we're going to be doing a lot of journaling, a lot of questioning, and a lot of deepening. So through each radical transformation, there's going to be what I'm calling my special sauce, which is this journaling and this piece around how we're digesting the flow of our life force, which is a lot of the money. And so I'm obsessed with the conversation right now, and a lot of my clients have been asking about it. And so this is why I'm getting pulled to talk about it. It has to be spiritual, right? So for example, you know, I cannot do anything for the sake of money for money's sake. And I know that when we watch people who are making $1 million a month, okay, it's inspiring. I'm going to be quite honest with you guys. I do not make $1 million a month. My business has not hit $1 million. My business literally replaced my corporate salary. And the reason why I find it so interesting, it's like almost dollar per dollar the amount of my high-end corporate salary. And this is what got me questioning, like, oh, this is so interesting. This is the value that because I was earning it, it was like the value that I saw. And so it got me really questioning of like, how is this value intrinsic to me? Because I've defined myself through this value. And I really believe that we have money, because in the spiritual realm, we don't have money. Okay. Most spiritual beings really would prefer to have no money. My enlightened teacher that I studied with did not charge for her work. And yet she was in the most wealth of anyone I've ever seen. It was her natural state that there was money coming out of her friggin' pockets, and people would drop hundreds of dollars of bills off of the doors because of the way she was around. The frequency was not the same with her, but it did kind of make me wonder, like, how do I charge for my service in the world when I witnessed somebody who didn't charge, but I also knew that I don't hold, she was enlightened, completely enlightened. I mean, I can't, these stories are off the chart. So I really had to find a way to embody the wealth and the spiritual in a spiritual realm, because I do see people that are of service and I see them as, I mean, I have to admit it, I just find them more valuable. I honor them more. So what that means is that I block myself from financial gains because I think the spiritual are more valuable. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of mind traps around the money, and it has to do with how we're digesting the world. And so we're going to be integrating that through each element. It's so illuminating, right? Yeah. And so for me, I have to be of service and still honor my value and my worth. Let you guys know that when you invest in me, it should be fun, because like, you know, one of the things that I come from, like, you know, a very middle class world, you think that spending money is any money that you have, you should only spend a small amount because that's the amount of money you have. And so from this suburban middle class world, you don't invest in high-end things, you don't pay for first class seating on a plane, you don't do, you know, private jets or whatever, until you transcend your idea around money, that money is just a flow, and actually the more you spend and you give, the more you receive, and that it's not about holding on tightly. Why would you do that to your breath? Your breath isn't held, it's always available. There's breath moving in, breath moving out. And so all of these concepts have been really in my mind as I'm doing this work and sharing. And so I really want to talk about it and share it in the human design way. And so I'm going to be integrating it throughout this entire dynamic. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Bye, everyone. Mwah. I love you guys.